Morning, ladies. How are you? It is Saturday. Happy Saturday. I hope you guys are having a good day. It's a beautiful, super beautiful day in Ontario. I'm so happy the sun is out. Anyways, today you might have seen in the group I posted a post around strawberries and how the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, points out how pesticide laden these berries are. And what I always suggest to my clients is to consider buying organic if you can, without feeling the pressure of having to switch to organic foods completely. Because I know that can be, financially a burden. And us personally, as a family, we try to go organic as much as we can. But of course, it's not always possible because it's certainly an added financial factor. However, there is certain foods that I would absolutely recommend to switch to either local or organic produce. And I was just going to show you. I'm going to share. I'm going to screen share my screen with you guys because I just wanted to show you a little bit of a summary from the EWG around citrus fruits, specifically that they tested last year in 2020 around pesticides and fungicides and usage on it. And this is really not to scare anybody. This is not really to make, to pressure anybody to buy organic and conventional foods are not, an option. Absolutely not. But this is just to raise awareness around what type of foods are probably a better option, especially when you think about maintaining and bettering your health, especially around, building a strong immune system when you are having an immune system that is constantly in overdrive and prone to inflammation, anyways. So I would like to screen share my screen with you guys to give you just a glimpse into what is going on in the conventional world of growing foods. And just keep that at the back of your head and then think about that when you go out and purchase your produce. Because it's something to absolutely think about. So let me share my screen with you. And I'm specifically going to be talking about citrus fruit today. Because I came across the study and it's really, 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 really interesting. Let me just do the entire screen. Let me see. All right, let me do this. All right, I hope I'm screen sharing now. Yes. Okay. So it's interesting because tests find hormone disrupting fungicides on most citrus fruit samples. So as I said before, the EWG is an independent organization and they really test the food that are on the market regularly every year. And there's a list of foods that you can always go by, and it's updated every year in terms of the food with that are found with most pesticides and fungicides, and the ones that are okay to buy conventionally. And so it's called Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. So anything that's on the Dirty Dozen list, I would absolutely recommend to go or either organic or local. Make sure that you know where your food is coming from. So specifically around citrus fruit samples, I'm just going to read this to you. The two hormone disrupting fungicides that they tested for were imazalil and thiabendazole, one of which is also a likely carcinogen, and they were detected on nearly 90% of non-organic citrus fruit samples in tests commissioned by the EWG. More than half of the samples contained both fungicides. So, what they did is they went out in January and July of 2020, and the EWG scientists purchased and peeled 25 samples of conventionally grown grapefruit, lemons, mandarins, and oranges. Because what I always do is when I go conventional, I don't use the peel. So, because the peel is where the pesticides and fungicides concentrate most. So, if you get rid of the peel, then you get rid of a good chunk of that pesticides portion, regardless. But what they did, they took it one step further and they actually tested the edible part of it. So, they peeled it and tested the edible portion of the fruit for pesticides residues. And they did that by an independent laboratory accredited by the state of California. So they found that the highest levels of imazalil and thiabendazole were found on mandarins, including clementines, followed by oranges, and then grapefruit. Whereas the organic samples did not have detectable levels of fungicides. So I was going to show you just a quick reference here that they posted is, let me see this. Yeah. So the two toxic fungicides they tested for, those two that I just mentioned, which are endocrine disruptors, were found on most citrus fruit samples. So they tested mandarins, 9 mandarins, and the average concentration was 174, so 89%, oranges 86, grapefruit 16, lemon 16, and all samples 101. And then for the other fungicides, it was like 128, 77, 17, and 80. So quite an amount. I also wanted to show you this. The average amount of imazalil on 15 domestic and 10 imported citrus fruits. So, like I said before, what I really like to do is I really like to scour the local farmers in our areas, because once you get to know the farmers, once you actually have a relationship with them, a conversation with them around how they grow their food, you can go to the farm, you can look around, and the farmers are really interested in sharing their story with you. The ones that are really looking out for the consumer's health. And there's a lot of them. So if you do that, then you really find farmers that are trying to stay away from the pesticides and fungicides in conventionally grown food. So they're not using pesticides and fungicides as much as the big, farmers or the big production sites. So local farmers is always a good option when you want to reduce the amount of pesticides and fungicides in your food. So this testing here, the study shows that the purple, the orange bar is the domestic food, and the green one is the imported, right? So they found that the level of imazalil on 15 domestic foods was much lower than the one on imported citrus fruits. Right. So when I go out in wintertime here in Ontario, obviously we don't grow oranges in wintertime. I can only opt for imported foods. And when I see that they are imported from countries such as, like South America, or even the Asian countries, or South Africa and such, I'm weary, not only because of I don't know what the standards are around pesticides and fungicide usage, but I also know that they have a long ways to travel to Canada, and thereby just losing their nutrients. And so by the time these foods get on my plate, I don't actually know how much nutrients are still in there. So for us, we always opt, of course, we don't have domestic, but we have oranges from Florida that are much, much closer than those ones from South Africa, let's say. But if you live in a state and you have local, domestically grown citrus fruits, you'll see that the load of pesticides is it's much less than the ones that are imported. Um, so you can also see that on the mandarins and oranges, same picture. The average amount of mazalil on 7 domestic and 3 imported oranges, and such. So it's really interesting to see that way. Then I was also just going to quickly show you a summary of the amount of different chemicals applied per pound on these crop. So, for example, oranges, right? They even listed by counties, but oranges, the amount of chemicals applied per pound was 24,839 on domestic oranges. I mean, that's just shocking, right? Then we have lemons at 4,350, grapefruit last 233, tangerines last 163, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So you can see that it doesn't always only come it doesn't only come down to eating unprocessed foods, which should really be it should really become a habit to create some sort of lifestyle diet that is involved, that is including 80% whole foods, of course. But we should take that a step further and also think about the quality of the foods that we are actually ingesting. Because, like I just showed you on my screen, the vast amount of different fungicides and pesticides that are not only being sprayed, but that are also included in our soil these days. Our soils are very, very poor, very much nutrient depleted. We have to keep that in mind, and we have to keep that in mind when we go out and try to make the best choices for us. So this is just a little something for your Saturday in case you go out and do your grocery shopping. Just something to raise awareness a little bit. All right, everybody, have a great afternoon, and I will see you again very soon.